Hi everyone, a warm welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to look at how to install WordPress on Ubuntu 24.04. WordPress is a free and open source content management system that lets you create and manage websites without needing to code everything from scratch. It's one of the most popular web platforms in the world, powering nearly 40% of all the websites. With WordPress, you can build things like blogs, business websites, portfolios, online stores, and much more. Now, to follow along in this video, you need an instance of Ubuntu 24.04 with a minimum of 2 CPU cores and 2 GB of RAM, and an unroot user with sudo privileges. Now for demonstration, I have deployed a VPS on Cherry servers with 2 virtual CPU cores, 2 GB of RAM, and 40 GB of storage. Now Cherry servers is a leading cloud provider offering high performance bare metal cloud and virtual private servers for developers and businesses needing dedicated hardware, full control, and privacy at affordable prices. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. To get off the ground, we need to first of all update the local package index as is always advised when you have deployed a new instance, and to do so I'll run the command sudo apt update and hit enter. Now for the software stack needed in WordPress, you can use either LAMP or LEMP stack, and for this lecture we're going to go with LEMP, which is short for Linux, Nginx, MySQL, and PHP. Now MySQL can be replaced with MariaDB since MariaDB is a fork of MySQL, so you can use either. For this lecture, we are going to go with MariaDB. Okay, so the first component we're going to install will be Nginx web server, and to do so simply run the command sudo apt install Nginx and hit enter. So to proceed, type Y and hit enter, and the installation is complete. Now once installed, Nginx starts automatically, and we can show this by running the command sudo systemctl status Nginx and hit enter. So as you can see from the output, we have Nginx up and running. Now you might also want to enable Nginx on system boot so that it can start automatically when the system is powered on, and to do so run the command sudo systemctl then enable Nginx. So this will ensure that Nginx will start automatically once or in case a system is rebooted. Now the next step will be to install PHP and the required extensions, and to do so we're going to run the command sudo apt install PHP and hit enter. So this is going to install PHP version 8.3. So I'm going to type Y on the keyboard and hit enter. Okay, now that is done. Now the next step will be to install the PHP extensions that will be required by WordPress, and to do so I'm going to copy this command here, and then I'm going to run it on the terminal here, and I'm going to hit enter. So this will install all the required PHP extensions. Great, that is done. Now let's check the version of PHP installed, and to do so I'm simply going to type the command php-v and hit enter. So from the output you can see that we are running PHP 8.3.6. Now the next step will be to configure the firewall. Now Ubuntu 24.04 comes with UFW firewall already installed, but by default this is disabled. So let's check the status of the firewall. So I'm going to run the command sudo UFW status and hit enter. So as you can see, by default this firewall is inactive. Now it's always recommended to enable the firewall to harden your system, okay, and ward off any intrusions or attacks. So here I'm going to first of all allow the SSH connection before enabling it. So I'm going to run the command sudo UFW allow. So I'm going to allow the traffic on port 22, which is the port that SSH is listening on, and I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going also to allow traffic on Nginx to pass through the firewall. So to allow Nginx traffic, I'm going to run the command sudo UFW allow then Nginx full like that and hit enter. Now I'm going to reload the firewall. So I'm going to run the command sudo UFW reload to apply these changes. So here we see that the firewall is not yet enabled. So we are going to enable the firewall first. So I'm going to run the command sudo UFW enable and hit enter. So you get this notification here that the command may disrupt existing SSH connections, but you have already added this rule to allow SSH connections. So I'm simply going to type Y and hit enter. So the firewall is active and enabled on system startup. So let's now check the status of the firewall by running the command sudo ufw status and hit enter, and this is what you get. So as you can see, we have allowed both traffic on SSH and Nginx. Okay, so now we have configured the firewall. Now the next step will be to install the MariaDB server. So to install MariaDB, we're just going to install it from the default Ubuntu repositories, and to do so, simply run the command sudo apt install MariaDB server and hit enter. So to proceed, I'll type Y on the keyboard and hit enter. So the installation is complete, and just like Nginx, MariaDB auto starts upon installation. So I'm going to run the command sudo systemctl, then status MariaDB to confirm whether MariaDB is running, and I'm going to hit enter. And like we expected, MariaDB is up and running. Okay, let's enable MariaDB to start on system startup. So to do so, I'll run the command sudo systemctl, then enable MariaDB and hit enter. And as you can see, MariaDB is now enabled to start automatically once the system is rebooted or restarted. Now the next step will be to secure MariaDB, since at the moment you can access it without any password. And just to confirm this, you can access MariaDB as the root user, okay, as the database root user. So I'm going to say sudo mysql-u, then root, and hit enter. So as you can see, we have landed on the MariaDB shell without being prompted for any password, and this is a huge security risk. Okay, so I'm going to exit this and go back to the terminal. So what you're going to do is we are going to harden MariaDB and implement the basic security measures. So to harden MySQL or MariaDB, I'm going to run the command sudo mysql_secure_installation and hit enter. So this will walk us through a list of prompts. So here we are being prompted to enter the current password for root. So I'm going to press enter since there's no password currently configured for MySQL root user. So here we are prompted to switch to the Unix socket authentication. So here I'm going to type Y for yes, and here we are being prompted to change the root account password. So here I'm going to type yes and provide a new password. So I'm going to provide it. Then I'm going to confirm and hit enter. Okay, so for the remaining prompts, we are just going to type Y. So I'm going to type Y to remove anonymous users. Then I'm going to disallow remote root login by typing Y once again. And here I'm also going to type Y to remove the test database and its access. And finally, I'm going to reload the privilege tables by typing Y and hit enter. Okay, so as you can see, we have completed the necessary steps required to implement basic security measures for MariaDB, but there's still one more step required, because at the moment you can still access the shell, as you can see. So now what you're going to do, we are going to change the password for the root user. So what you're going to do, we're going to use the alter user query. So ensure you have access to the database and run alter user. Then here we're going to say root at localhost, then identified by. So here we are going to provide your password. Okay, so I'm just going to provide the password that I used earlier. So here we have password. Of course, you need to change this to a more secure password, so this is just for demonstration. So I'm gonna hit enter, then I'm going to save the changes by saying flash privileges and hit enter. Now we have set the password for root. So here I'm going just to exit the shell. Now let's try again to access the shell. So here I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see, access is denied for root at localhost, okay, because we have not specified the password prompt. So here I'm going to say -p and hit enter, and then now we are being prompted for a password which I'm going to provide. And I'm gonna hit enter, and as you can see, now we have dropped to the MariaDB shell, okay, and we can now start creating the databases. So now I'm going to exit and head back to the shell. Now in our next step, we are going to create the database for WordPress as well as the database user. So see you in the next step. Now WordPress requires a database for installation and also saving the files. Okay, so now we are going to go back to the MariaDB shell. So I'm going to run the command sudo mysql -u, then root -p for the password. Okay, so I'm going to create a database first. So I'm going to say create a database. Then I'm going to provide a database name. So for this case, I'm going to say WordPress _db and hit enter. Now next, I'm going to create a user. So I'm going to say create user. Then I'm going to say WordPress _user, then at localhost identified by. Then here I'm going to supply the password for the WordPress user. So I'm just going to say any password. So for example, my password, like that, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to grant all the privileges of the database to the database user. So here I'm going to say grant all privileges on, so WordPress _db, then period sign, then wildcard symbol, then to WordPress user at localhost. So WordPress _user, then at localhost. Okay, now let me save the changes by running the flash privileges command. Okay, and then I'm going to say exit to exit the shell. So we have successfully created a database and a database user. Now in our next step, we are going to download and configure WordPress. To download WordPress, all you need to do is head over to your browser and search for WordPress download like you've seen here. So here I'm going to go with this first link here, and this will take us to this page. So as you can see, the latest version is WordPress 6.9, and this is what you're going to download. So I'm going to right click and select copy link address. So I'm going to head back to my terminal and use the wget command to download the installation file. So here I'm going to hit enter to download the zip file. So as you can see, this is what you have here. Okay, so ensure that you have the latest .zip file downloaded. Okay, and as you can see, it's about 28 megabytes. So once you have this file in place, the next step is to extract it to the web root directory. And to do this, you're going to use the unzip command. So I'm going to run the command sudo unzip, then latest.zip. Then here I'm going to specify the -d option and then specify the path. So in this case, it's /var/www and hit enter. So here you see the unzip command is not found. So we're going to install it by running the command sudo apt install unzip and hit enter. So we have installed unzip. So let's head over back to the command earlier. So I'm going to hit enter, and this will extract all the files to the var directory. So let's check the var then www directory, and here you're going to see we have the WordPress folder, okay, that has been extracted. Now the next step, we are going to assign the necessary permissions to a group and user called www-data. So we are going to use the churn command and specify the www-data user and group as well. And this, we are going to apply the ownership to var, then www WordPress directory, and hit enter. Okay, now once that is done, we are next going to configure the WordPress configuration file, which is the wp config.php file. So once we list the contents of this folder, so I'm going to copy this. Okay, so I'm going to use the ls command to check the contents of the WordPress directory. So here I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see, we have this file here, wp-config-sample.php. So we are going to rename this to wp-config.php. So to do this, I'm going to use the mv command to rename this file, and I'm going to run the command sudo mv. So here I'm going to specify the path to the file, which is var www WordPress, then wp-config, then sample. So here I'm going to copy this entire path, and then I'm going to say wp-config.php, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, so once I've done that, I need to access this file using the nano editor. You can also use vim. Okay, so I'm going to access this file, and I'm going to change a few attributes. So here I'm gonna hit enter. So I'm going to scroll down to this section here for database settings. So here I'll be specifying the database name, the database user, and the database password. So for the database name, I'm going to specify the database. Then here also I'm going to specify the user, and for the database password, so here I'll specify the user's password. So you need to specify your own database and database user. So once that is done, I'm going to save the changes and I'm going to exit. So the next step, we are going to configure the Nginx server block for WordPress that will tell the web browser where to access the WordPress installation files. In this step, we are going to create the Nginx server block that will inform the web browser where to find the WordPress files. And to do so, I'm going to run the command sudo nano, then specify the path to the server block. So in this case, I'm going to say /etc/nginx, then conf.d wordpress.conf, and hit enter. Then I have the configuration file here with me, so I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to paste the code here. So here in the server name, you can use your domain name, or if you do not have a domain name, you can use your server's public IP address like we have here. Okay, so ensure you have this code block as you can see here on the screen. So I'm going to save this by pressing Ctrl O, hit enter, and then press Ctrl X to exit the file. Okay, so now once that is done, you need to check the Nginx in case there are any configuration errors. So to do so, I'm going to run the command sudo nginx -t and hit enter. So as you can see here, the Nginx configuration syntax is okay and the test has been successful. So we are good to go. Now to implement all the changes we have made, we need to restart Nginx, and to do so, we're going to run the command sudo systemctl restart Nginx and hit enter. So let's check whether Nginx is running. So I'm going to say sudo systemctl status Nginx. So as you can see, our Nginx web browser is running as expected. Now in our final step, we are going to head to the web browser and complete the WordPress installation. Now to complete the WordPress installation, all I need to do is to head back to my web browser and browse the server's IP address. So here I'm going to run the command IP address and hit enter. So I'm going to grab the server's public IP, which is this one over here. So I'm going to copy this and head back to my browser. So here I'll open a new tab, then I'm going to paste this address and hit enter. So this brings this page, as you can see. So this will be the preliminary installation step, where you'll be required to select your installation language. So here by default English is selected, so I'm okay with this. I'll press continue. So here you'll provide more information. So here for the site title, I'll simply say my blog, then username. Here I'm going to say Cherry. So the password will be pre-selected or recommended for you. So for the email, you can say, let's say admin@cherry.com, and then finally click install WordPress. So here I'm just going to copy this to back it up. So I'm going to click install WordPress, and this is what you have. So you'll be given the username and the password. So here I'm going to click login, and this will be autofilled for you. So here I'm going to click login again, and there you have it. So you can see now we have accessed the WordPress dashboard, and from here you can start creating your website or blog or whatever it is you have in mind. So that's it for this lecture. In this lecture, we have walked you through step by step on how to install WordPress on Ubuntu 24.04. And in case you found this insightful, don't forget to leave a like and smash the subscribe button so that you can continue receiving more of these Linux tutorials. So from us is goodbye, and we look forward to see you in our next lecture.